And welcome back to Blue Shirts Buzz, where we talk everything New York Rangers. I'm your host, Matt Piscazzi, with my co-host, John Horton. Definitely check out our Twitter at BlueBuzz26. And yeah, we're excited about this one, so we're going to get right into it. The regular season is finally here. We've been talking about it forever. We've been looking forward to it forever. We've been analyzing this team and everything going on forever, and now it's finally the beginning of the new year. First of all, before we get into how exciting last night's game over, because we're recording right after the opening night, of course. Before we get into that and all that good stuff, and we're going to talk about Igor's contract at the end of the episode as well. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing pretty damn well. Excellent way to start the regular season. I was worried with Lindgren and VC out, that there'd be some depth issues because of just I really like the game of both VC and Lindgren, but that was not the case. I mean, I know the Penguins still have Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, but they're just the whole rest of the team, including I almost say Christian Jari. What's his friend name? Tristan?
Tristan, you're right there.
Tristan.
Yeah.
Okay. Tristan Jari, just being horrible. But the defense doing him no favors. Just an excellent game. For anybody who watched the last episode too, we had our picks for the first score of the year, and I jokingly said Sam Carrick, and he came out came out shooting to prove he is the better replacement for Barclay Goodrow. Kind of weird that he's not on the team anymore, but hey, I mean, it's not like there was any difference last night. But yeah, the New York Rangers blew out the Penguins 6-0. Igor Shesterkin with 29 saves, a shutout. Chris Kreider with 2 goals. Alexi Lafreniere with a goal and assists for 2 points. Artemi Panarin with 2 points. Vincent Trocheck with a goal. Jacob Trouba played really well despite everything going on. Even after the show, of course, after the game, Paul Bissonnette asked him, about the rumors, and he gave the same standard answer to it's in the past, like rumor spread, blah blah blah, whatever. But overall, the whole team, they took a little while to get going at certain points here and there, but once they took over, they took over. And Filipino, of course, scored, which was fantastic to see after not playing and scoring since 2023.
He's a certified snipe too.
Yeah, beautiful play, and it just worked out too because at first it looked like a pass from Mo Cooley, but it was actually the defense slapped Cooley's stick away when he tried to take a shot, so the puck just kind of stayed there. Beautiful shot, and most importantly, which we've talked about before the season, and we're going to talk about the entire season and what will ultimately lead this team to the top, is the third line produced very well, not only just in points but in possession and defense. And I think that was fantastic. I thought it was too funny and too Ranger like that the first official shot attempt on goal was a Mika Zibanejad shot that, of course, the announcer said wide. Mika didn't play a bad game. He didn't really get a lot of offense going. I think Riley Smith had a point too, but he did keep Crosby to no points. You could see that he played against Crosby very well defensively, but that's a lot of things we talked about on the offseason too. He's not a defenseman. I think it's great that he can play 2 ways, but these last season especially, and just going off one game, of course, still have 81 games, it seems like he's focusing too much defensively than offensively. I think maybe if we could split that 50-50 a little bit, that'd be great. Again, first game of the season, not going to put him on the chopping block just yet, but he showed exactly what he showed the entire season last year. So let's hope that changes because, again, not to take anything away from the victory, the Penguins are a bad team, but that we play I'm gonna say the Utah Jazz, the Utah Hockey Club. Hopefully, they get a name eventually on Saturday. That I expect to be a victory as well. But they are a young, fiery team in a new stadium and a new set of fans. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, so I guess what are your overall takes from this game?
To start off, I love the depth, and you had highlighted a little bit there, but it also, like, overall, just not even just that third line, but the fourth line as well. Up and down the lineup, every single line scored in that game, which is really impressive stuff. And at 5v5 as well, which is even better considering all of the conversation about our 5v5 scoring last year. So to get 5v5 scoring up and down the lineup right there, check, awesome, thank you very much. I love that the first goal came off a deflection from Carrick, and you literally had joked about it. That was and I texted you. I was like, nobody had that on their bingo card.
Yeah,
And especially when you consider that it was off a shot from Trouba. I was not expecting that at all. But Trouba actually played pretty well, like you had said, and I like his play in the offensive zone, and I think he was a little bit more balanced. Like I feel like I didn't see him driving behind the net last night, which is positive because I feel like last year we saw him behind the net like all the time. He's like, oh, I'll just drive the play and I'll just end up behind the net, and then they're like, there's a breakaway going back the other way, and he's like, oh no,
Yeah.
you know. But he actually played really well last night. As a whole, I mean, there's like, I don't want to like start nitpicking and finding things we did badly, because obviously like you could find things that we could have improved on or that a couple individuals could have improved on, but just I don't think there's a better way to start the year. I mean, to blank a bitter rival here that obviously is on a downswing. You know, we've talked about they choked their way out of a playoff position last year, and they're really not much of, you know, a team. They're a shell of the, you know, former team that they had been for a lot of the 2000s here, but still a very formidable team, some really good players there. And it kind of it brings up this question that a girlfriend had asked me actually, and I had an answer right away, but I'm gonna ask you because I'm curious. Do you see this win as more impressive for us or more disappointing for the Penguins? And I'm interested to hear what you have to say, and then I'll give my sense at the end of that.
That's a great question. It's tough to answer the question blank. I would say it's more impressive from the Rangers in terms of functioning as a full machine, a full team. Each line scored at least 1 point, which is incredible. And we kept our nose clean for the most part. The one trip on Trouba was kind of BS. He put his stick out to stop the puck, and the
Yeah, and
Penguins
it was like
player
a
just
bang
kept
bang play.
skating.
Like it just kind of happened. Like it was like,
Yeah,
really,
it just kind of happened. And
yeah.
Will Cooley's was dumb. I think he kind of knew what he was doing, sliding in the Tristan Jarry like that. That was kind of obvious, I think. And even the broadcasters too were like, yeah, he's a young guy, but he's got to do a better job of not putting himself in that position.
Yeah.
That was him just kind of being a dumbass.
Yeah.
So other than that, yeah, kept their nose clean. Every line scored a point. I think I would say it's more impressive for the Rangers, especially after the long off season of not a lot of change, the disappointing conference championship loss. We could have completely gotten blown out in this game. We could have choked a lead, but no, we held on strong, and I think it's I think that would be my answer. And I will say, as a sidebar for that, I think definitely disappointing for Penguins fans. That maybe they didn't think they would win, but I think they probably figured they would at least get a goal.
Yeah, I think they figured they would have been at least competitive at points. And like you had said, it was really only the beginning of the game where we weren't in total control. I mean, a large majority of that game, we were in total control. And that's why I have to agree with you. I think it was more impressive for us just because of the fashion that we won. Like, I'm not, we expected to win that game, but it was the way that we did it. Like you had highlighted, the whole lineup, the production coming from everybody, keeping a clean nose. Also, some faces there that, like, in the Sam Carrick and the Victor Mancini, that like performed really well, and they hadn't before in a jersey. Like, this is their first time, we're seeing them in a jersey in a regular season game for us. And so that was promising as well. I really, really like the play of Mancini actually. And it makes me feel better about Lindgren not being in the lineup. And that we need to have a sense that when he's not there, we can still hold it down defensively, because he's going to be hurt for a few games this year. He's already hurt and the season just started. So we need to be able to have guys that can step up and play really well. And Mancini earned his spot on this team, and he played really well last night. That was a big highlight for me, outside of the obvious, 6-0 win, offensive explosion, play from all of our stars. Like, you're not surprised by that, right? Like, you expect to see that from them at certain times. Mancini showing up though, and playing the way that he did, that was really impressive. And I didn't even know that he was going to be in the lineup until we're hearing that he was called up and he's going to be playing. Like, I think he found out like that day too. His parents came from a few hours away or whatever. They jumped up. Of course, they want to go see their son play for the Rangers. But yeah, it was just a lot to be really excited about. But maybe before we roll into more of that, we could get a word from our exciting sponsors.
Oh yeah,
start us off. I know we got some good word for you guys here.
Absolutely. Maybe Buddy can help me out with this. That brings us to one of today's sponsors, which of course is none other than DraftKings Sportsbook. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's very easy for first timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bets. And if you're new to DraftKings, new customers get $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
And now for a word from a new sponsor of ours, Game Time. There's nothing quite like the experience of a live NHL game. The chill of the ice, the sound of a big hit or a slap shot. Every year I try and go to as many games as possible. And this year, I can't wait to get to more games. And with Game Time, it'll be easier than ever. Game Time has tickets for all sorts of live sporting and music events, not just the NHL. And with Game Time picks, you can get the best deal in the shortest time. Right now, there's tons of deals on Game Times for you and your friends and your family to enjoy. Get on there and check them out. You could download the app as well and buy tickets right from your phone. Game Time has great features like panoramic seat views to make sure you love your seats, the Game Time lowest price guarantee, or the ticket coverage that provides the most flexible customer service policy in the industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. And thank you to our wonderful sponsors. I know you had to come on. That was good, right? You like
That was good.
Game time. Game time.
No, it was
at the end
good.
there? Game time.
No,
I
yeah.
love that. Such a catchy
Yeah.
one. Like such a good one.
No, it is. Yeah.
But,
Thank you, Game Time, DraftKings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a little finalization here on the season opening win from the Rangers. Rangers had a total of 40 shots on goal, which I think was awesome. At first, they were struggling to get shots on goal, and then they skyrocketed with that. I want to see that every single night. No, that's not possible. But
Dude, there was
hopefully
was it like 15 or 16-minute stretch where the Penguins didn't have a single shot on net, and that there
Yep.
were a lot of times last year that was us because we just
Yep.
weren't able to generate offense at 5-on-5. So being on the flip side of that coin was wonderful. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just
No. Yeah.
that was so good. Like seeing that come up and it be like Rangers have had the only shots in the last however like 15, 16 minutes, whatever. I was like, we're finally
so true.
generating offense at 5v5.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's
I don't wanna,
important
like,
against.
get super, we have
Yeah,
more
no,
games
I
tomorrow,
know,
whatever,
I
but
know it's one game, but
stuff to hold on to. Like,
it is important to do it against teams that you should beat too. You know, if it's against
Sure.
another top team in the league, like it's a little more understandable, but you can't be
Mm-hmm.
struggling against teams you should beat. Yeah, like the Penguins. So Rangers had 40 shots on goal. The Penguins only blocked 10 shots. So the Rangers had a 52.5% faceoff, so they won for the night on faceoffs. Both power plays did not score for the Rangers. Neither did the three of the Penguins, but the Rangers had 20 block shots, which is awesome. So the Penguins only recorded 31 shots on goal, which is still a lot, but imagine if 20 more of those went through. Igor maybe would not have been able to save all of those, understandably. So good job on the defense. I know Trouba is the main driver of that. That is one very good thing of Trouba is he likes to block shots. But funnily enough, like when Lafreniere scored his really cool toe drag goal, the one cool thing about it being on TNT was Wayne Gretzky, on the broadcasting table, and he was talking about how I forgot his name, but he was talking about like a legendary coach who would just say like if you're defending, don't lay down, don't slide because you're just going to leave the lane open. And the
Yeah.
Penguins defender did that, and guess what? Lafreniere capitalized on that, and then the funny part of that is maybe 10 minutes later, I saw Trouba do the same thing. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like,
Yeah.
you weren't listening, and he wasn't, but I was like, you weren't listening to Wayne Gretzky in the
You're
thing.
like, come on, the great one said it. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
So like fun. I know it's just a video game too, but even in like the NHL games, you do that, you're just getting scored on. So it's just
You
it's
get
just
or you
funny
get
how-
like a tripping penalty immediately because the guy just slaps their
Yes.
knees with the stick, right?
And that's what I hate. But so for the Rangers schedule moving forward for the rest of the week here, so we'll have the episode on either Monday or Tuesday, to start the week. But we're playing the again, I keep wanting to say Utah Jazz, Utah Hockey Club, and then for whatever reason we play the Red Wings on Monday, and then we play them again on Thursday. I don't know why that's the case.
Yeah, kind of weird.
It's weird. Classic NHL scheduling. And then that following Saturday, we play the Maple Leafs. After last night's performance, I could see Honestly, I could see out of the next 1, 2, 3, 4 games, I could see us being 3-1 in any capacity.
Yeah,
Um,
I think pretty
3-2,
easily.
I'd be happy with too, but anything other than that, I'd be disappointed. What are you thinking?
I mean, I don't even think it's outside of the realm possibility for us to sweep in that. That's where arguably we as a team, like that should be our mentality. Like we can beat anybody that we play any night. You probably figure that one of those games is going to be tougher than the rest in some form or fashion. Maybe one of them is a 1 goal game that we lose. There might be like an off night or something. But honestly, like we could win all those games. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm not gonna be disappointed if we don't. I think if we come away from that like 3-1, that's totally fine. Uh, I would expect that from that kind of span of games, honestly, especially after how the Maple Leafs played and all the question marks surrounding the Red Wings, and are they even really going to be legit? I mean, how's that going to look? It's probably going to take them a couple games to kind of get those things kind of going as well. And
Mhm.
with Utah, I mean, I know they got to win against the Blackhawks, but the Blackhawks are a significantly different structured team, to put it nicely, than we are right now. So I'm not, either one of those teams could have won that game, and it means virtually nothing for either one of those teams. It's more of like a Pyrrhic victory, if anything. What are those teams doing this year besides developing and getting minutes for some people that need those minutes, right? I mean, like
Mhm.
Bedard and some of those young guys. But yeah, no, I would be totally happy with 3 wins out of that 4. I mean, even if we split and we just get 2 wins, 2 losses, like that's not the worst thing in the world. It's the first 5 games of the year. Not going to panic, especially depending on like how those games go. I'm sure there'll be a lot to kind of break down,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, I
definitely looking
mean,
forward to it though. Definitely looking
yeah.
forward to it. Finally here.
Yeah, no, I know. Absolutely, absolutely fan I almost said livid. Absolutely happy. I don't know why, but, yeah, I mean, look at the Oilers last year, and they started, like, 0-14 or something, they went all the way to game
True.
7,
Yeah.
and, Stuart Skinner got pulled last night. They get 13 shots on goal, let in 5.
The Jets just trounced them, man. That was crazy.
Yeah, um,
But
and Kyle Connor set a record for 7 consecutive home opening games, with a goal, which is kinda crazy, and
good stuff.
also Igor's shutout, I forgot to mention last night, was the first opening season win and shutout for the Rangers since the '50s, so, I
Mm,
thought that was
okay.
I thought that was
Okay.
that was impressive, but, yeah, so I guess, we have our preview for the rest of the week. We talked about how fantastic, opening opening night was, and then, as the episodes come out, as more games transpire, we'll have more to talk about in that regard, but hot button issue, hot topic is, of course, Igor Shesterkin. Luckily enough for all the listeners, Matt and I have varying opinions to some degree on this, so which is good. But we're gonna
Makes
keep
it a
it
little more
civil, of
interesting
course.
for you guys to listen to. But yeah, we'll just get a
Yeah.
we're gonna be good. I mean, we've talked about this in the past too. It's a topic that's not going away.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's certainly worth mentioning for a few minutes at the end here, because this whole Igor contract saga, this whole offseason, and even leading up to last night, opening night, like it's still something that we're hearing about. And actually, you had brought up to me before we even started recording something that I hadn't even heard. So it's like it's still developing and everything. I mean, I'll get my spiel out of the way quickly, because I've been pretty consistent with this throughout the offseason. Pay the man is kind of where I'm at. I don't think it's unrealistic. I, I am upset that he turned down the 8-year, 11 mil a year contract. Obviously that would have set a record for a goalie contract. That would have been incredibly impressive, great number, right? Like all those things. I understand him from a personal point saying no to that contract. He's hedging his bet on himself. He's saying that this year he's going to play and he's going to earn even more, which, oh, by the way, I think he deserves, and I think he knows that he can get. And that's the thing, is that it's a big number, but when you do that cap percentage to where the cap is going, it's equal to numbers that we have seen given to goaltenders in the past, percentage wise. That's the thing. It's just that it's that number's looking bigger because the cap is going up and up and up. Like look at Slavkovsky. He got what, 7 mil? What player at that stage of their career was getting 7 mil 10 years ago? They weren't. They were getting what, 3 or 4? Because that's where the cap was. That's where the money was. That's where inflation was. Everything's getting more expensive. The contracts are going to keep getting more expensive. And Igor is going to be the first one of these goalies where, I mean, I guess you could kind of say like Swayman, because of what he got, like 8. Didn't he got over 8, and then Olmark got 8.25 a
They
year
got
as
the
well.
same thing, yeah,
Yeah, so like
8.25.
you're seeing, but see, even that, you're seeing that number get higher and higher and higher. And that's really why, for me, I'm not super upset about you saying no. I'm okay with kind of seeing where this goes. And honestly, I'm okay with giving him what he asked for. I just think that without him, it's too many question marks. It's too many assumptions of like, oh well, we'll be able to move this guy, and then we'll move this guy, and then we'll move this guy. It's like, what are we talking about? If
Mhm.
we're looking at that being a serious thought of Igor moving on, then we are not a serious contender at this point. And that's the thing, is that right now this is the year to go out and win it, and then answer all these questions and figure it all out after. And so for me, I get it from Igor's standpoint. Go out there, ball, earn more money, and we'll pay you more money. And if we don't, I think we're straight silly. But that's where I'm at, and I know that you come at it from a little bit of a different angle, which I respect, but do have
Yeah.
to
No,
fight a little bit. But you know,
yeah, no, you put it in really good perspective, especially with, like I hate having to sit here and be like, "Oh, this player shouldn't get this or this player shouldn't get that." It's
mm,
just unfortunate how the NHL's cap works. It's very annoying, very archaic. But it's just how it is, sadly. My thought process with it is, Igor's gonna get paid, right, regardless. There's no dispute with that. Um, he loves New York, quote unquote. The Rangers love him. They want him to stay here. They don't want him to go anywhere. So I think it was fair after the seasons he's had that Chris Drury comes to him and says, "Okay, we're gonna offer you the max years allowed in the NHL, which is 8, and we're going to give you like a $3 to $4 million raise, and you're going to be the highest paid goaltender in NHL history as you put pen to paper on this, on this contract. And 11 million is nothing to scoff at. There's no goalie that makes that. What do you say?" And him saying no to that, to me, is in some regard a little selfish. It takes away a little of the, like, because I'm a fan of the Rangers franchise, right? And I love that Igor is a part of it. But at the end of the day, I'm picking the franchise over the player just because that's, I feel like, the smartest way to approach team sports. And Igor saying that makes me think part of him just wants money over where he's playing, which again, that's his personal motive. That's fine. But as like a fan of the Rangers organization, it's kind of upsetting that not only were you offered the max allowed term, but also a record breaking contract, which you wanted, and they delivered it, and you said no. Um, which on one end is good, like you said, he's hedging it. Which, hey, maybe he gets a Vesna this year, maybe he leads us to the cup and we win. Fantastic. But let's say he bets against himself and he plays horrible. What do we do now? Like, now he gets less money. What if he doesn't want to sign with the Rangers? So the thing that annoyed me, and my hot take for that, and I've seen a lot of other people say, is it makes it seem almost like he doesn't want to be in New York. He just wants the big amount of money, and the news that this contract denial was leaked by Igor's camp rather than the Rangers kind of speaks volumes of like him speaking out to the NHL, like, "Hey, listen, they offered me this. I'm worth more. Um, I may be open to other people," and other reports I've listened to as well. So the Rangers, since he was drafted by the Rangers and he's been with us as long as he's been with us, we can offer him the max of 8 years. Other teams, if they were to sign Igor, couldn't do that. Some weird NHL rule. They would only be able to give him 7 years. So if he gets 7 years or even six, that 11 million AAV will now shoot up to 12 and change. So, and before we've heard where Igor has argued like, "Oh, I want 12 million. I want 12 million. I want to be the highest paid player on the Rangers." And Panarin makes 11.6. So 12 obviously is bigger than 11.6. So to me, it almost is like, "Hey, thanks for everything. Like, I'm the Rangers goalie. Like, this is our year, but I don't want to stay here because I could get more at a different AAV in other areas." And I know part of it's an agent. Like, the agent is going to be like, "Oh, you can get this, you can get that, you can get this." And again, as a human being, player standpoint, that's his motive. That's fine. I just think from a team aspect, it's selfish. I think it's kind of a spit in the eyes of the fans because it wasn't like Drury came out and said, "Oh yeah, here's an 8x8," right? Like, he came out and said, "Here's a record-breaking deal, and here's the longest term allowed. We want you here." And he said, "Nah." So to me, it just feels like he doesn't want to be here after this year, is what it seems like, unless we win the cup and then we give him 13 million a year. So that's just kind of like how I see it, which
mm.
is frustrating.
No, no, I understand. I get where you're coming from. I get where I get where that makes sense. Like, I'm not blind to the fact that you can kind of put some of those pieces together and like make that assumption. But I think it's almost a phenomenon that as fans we give the organization a lot more grace when it comes to making these decisions. Like, if you think about it,
That's fair.
if the organization like if the onus was like if we were the problem, like if Igor were ready to like sign the paper and we had some kind of issue with it, it'd be like, oh well, we must have an issue for some reason because we're this big great sports team, and as fans we believe in this organization. I'm sure there's some reason, right? And like we would almost like back them, and like it's not a lot of times that you see fans like lose faith in their organization and publicly be like, that was dumb, that was stupid, whatever. Like you're gonna have split opinions on a lot of stuff, but on the flip side of that, when it's the players, us as fans, I think we overreact, quite frankly, and I do too. Not even just you, like us, just as fans in general. If a player says no, it's like, oh my god, they don't want to be here. They hate us. They hate this organization. But I think that sometimes we get lost in the mix because it's not selfish. Like if the team does it, it's like, oh, that's a business move. That makes sense. Good move from the team. But then if a player tries to like vouch for themselves and fight for themselves, we're like, oh, they're selfish. When it's like in reality, if you were in his shoes and you knew that you could get paid 12 plus mil, would you not say no and hedge your bets this year that you could make 12 mil past this year? From a rational standpoint, who would not in that situation unless you're nervous about getting hurt, falling off, right? Like you could make that argument. But I appreciate that confidence from him. And that's why for me, I guess I see it less like I am kind of reacting to it less. I'm just like, he can get paid that money. He deserves to get paid that money. I don't see it as like a, screw you guys, I don't want to be here. It's more of like a, well, if you want me here, then pay me to be here because
Mhm.
I've given your organization everything that I've had for years here and been an MVP on this team, won a Vesna, been a reason that we have went to heights that we went to, obviously other pieces as well, but without him making the saves that he makes and being that backstop and being that Lundqvist 2.0, we don't make that Eastern Conference final. I mean,
Mhm.
we are there's a chance we are out in the second round. There's a chance we don't make the playoffs. There's so many different question marks. Who knows what this team would be like? Who would be our goaltender of the future? I just think going from Lundqvist to Shesterkin is something that we should ride that wave and give him the money he deserves. And I guess that's why I'm a little less upset about it. But again, I understand where you're coming from. Like I can't argue against you or the fans that are in your corner and have that viewpoint because it both sides there's sense there and there's
Mhm.
rationality there, and it's really just like frustrating that the season started and we're still having this conversation. But I think we had said in the offseason, it came out that if the decision wasn't made before the season, it wasn't going to be made during the season. So I doubt that we're going to see any kind of extension this year. I mean, it'd be nice to like hear and just get it out of the way, but it's realistically probably going to be an off-season conversation,
Yeah.
and just got to hope that whatever that conversation is, that Igor plays at a Vesna level this year. I mean, that's really what we want from him, regardless of what happens in the future. So I guess at this point, it's just fingers crossed, knock on wood, that Igor has a really good year and can help us get to where we need to go this year. And we're gonna have to pick up the pieces in the offseason, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's the best way to put it. No, you make a fair point with defending the organization over the player. I mean, you saw the stuff with Jeremy Swayman as well.
Yeah.
Even though I would say Swayman had less of a leg to stand on than Igor for
Oh,
sure.
definitely. Yeah, his
Um,
was definitely. But
yeah, it was
I
just a
like
little.
that comparison though. That was a good point.
Yeah, and dime a dozen players. Like you got players like Sidney Crosby who could walk in with a blank check, and he didn't because he loves the team and he wants to win. He's already given 3 wins. Not everybody's like that. Like you saw the Knicks, Jalen
Yeah.
Brunson. He took a cut, even though obviously the pay scale is different in the NBA.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just like again, like I don't sit there expect Igor to be like, I'm not sitting there like, oh, like he's a millionaire, like he should make less, this and that. Like I get it, and I think it's annoying too. A lot of fans bring up, they're like, oh, well, that's why you see Florida and all these other teams that have these championship caliber teams because they don't have state income tax, blah blah blah. I'm like, there's still the federal income tax, which no matter where you live, even if you live in a rock in the middle of Arizona desert, you're paying the federal income tax and you're getting killed on that. I don't think people realize just because there's no state income tax, like, yeah, you still have, at the end of the day, you have net more money in your pocket, but it's not
Yeah.
like
But the
it's,
number is also considered the same though. Like when you sign somebody to a
yes.
10 mil contract in New York versus a 10 mil contract in Florida, the power that that number has over that player, like it has the same effect. I mean, obviously you're
Yes.
bringing home more of that in a state like Florida, but it's are people really like doing the math on that? And oh my
It's so
god, well, of
annoying.
course they're gonna go to Florida. It's like no, if they
It's
go
so
there, it's
annoying.
for a number of other reasons too. It's not because they're gonna get a couple extra $1,000 because of less taxes. Like
Yeah, I know. I hate that.
they make so much money at this point. You think that's where they're like penny pinching? Like
Yeah. No, I know. I agree. That is the
yeah,
most infuriating debate I see all the time. Like someone said that with the Igor stuff too, like, oh, he doesn't want to re-sign in New York so he can go sign that 12, 11 million in a different state.
Mm.
But to me, it was just like, and I understand like, oh, I'm going to bet on myself, this and that. But like with your job, I won't disclose your job here, of course, unless you want to. But
It's fine.
let's
It
say,
works. Okay.
yeah, let's say, like, let's say you're the best, like in the tri-state area, and you're like, hey, I want to get like paid for my efforts. Like I've been the best here, this and that, and your HR department or GM, comes to you and says, okay, here is the longest amount we can give you possible, and here is the most pay relative to anybody in your position. Why would you say no? You know what I mean? Like that's what to me it's like, what does he get out of that other than saying A,
Mhm.
especially how volatile the goalie position is. A, it's like, I don't want to play here.
Yeah.
That's my number one thing that comes to, because it's not like they gave him 3 years at 11 million. Like they gave him 8. He'd be 35,
True.
36 when
True.
that ended. Well paid, handsomely paid. And that's the part where I just can't wrap my head around. Maybe, we didn't get all the details. Maybe he was like, okay, 8 years, 11 mil, that's great. Give me a no move clause too. Maybe Drury was like, no, I'm not doing that. We didn't
Yeah.
get the details on that, so that
That's
could
true.
change literally this whole conversation. Because I think you and me are in agreement that he should not get a no move clause. No goalie should have a no move clause because of how
No,
volatile the
especially if it's
position is.
that, if we're talking that kind of term, that's where it's
Yeah,
like new.
yeah, no, because if you fall off a cliff, like we have to be able to move you,
Then
because
we're
then we're just
hurting. Yeah.
look at the Canadians with Carey Price. He was still making money on the team. He
Yeah.
wasn't even playing. He only gave up his contract recently so the team could rebuild. He was like, "Yeah, just pay me an amount and I won't be on the books anymore." So, no, I agree. I agree. And the good thing is, like you said, shelve it till the offseason. Doesn't matter. What matters is here,
Yeah.
right now, wins and making that climb to the cup again.
Yes, sir.
God, please, God willing. But yeah,
Well, I mean, with that, I think that's a perfect way to segue out of this one, and I'll start us rolling on that because I mean, listen, you had highlighted right there. We got a whole season ahead of us. It is about getting to the promised land. This is realistically probably the best shot that we're going to have at it
yeah,
in the coming years here. Who knows with Igor, with Laugh, with Miller, with Lindgren, with the 1-year deals that you bring in these free agents and everything with some of our young guys that are developing. Who knows what the surrounding pieces are. Who knows what the core is going to look like next year? That's really Trouba could get moved. I mean, there's so many question marks. It's like let's put that in the back of our mind and let's just go out there and let's ball and let's play hard and let's do what we need to do right now. Take it every game at a time. One game at a time, one shift at a time. But yeah, great way to start the season. A lot of really good stuff to highlight. A lot of stuff to look forward to. So if we could just kind of take that momentum, keep it rolling. We have some fair games coming up. Some teams that are certainly competitive, but I don't think teams that should give us as much trouble as some of these other teams that we're going to be playing a little bit later on. So take advantage of this stretch right now. Take advantage of that momentum off that Penguins game, and let's keep it rolling. I want to see more. I want to see more encouraging stuff. I want to see that bottom six in particular. If they could keep that up, specifically that third line is being so dynamic. If they can keep that up, then I think this team can really take a huge step forward going into the offseason. And obviously, we'll highlight all that great stuff for you guys throughout the year. But thank you for another great episode here. Another awesome time here on the mic. Another good session with the boy. But yeah, thank you all very much for listening. Thank you for the support. Definitely check out Twitter, BlueBuzz26. And yeah, I will catch you guys on the next one. And John will close us out on this one.
yep, thank you. I won't repeat every single thing that he just said because he said it perfectly. But yep, thank you again as always. Tell your friends, family, and loved ones about the show. We appreciate all the support. Check us out every week, twice a week, here on YouTube or Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's the last from Buddy here too, and we will catch you guys on the next one.